Hi, everybody. Welcome to the New Orleans Drawing Group Q&A guest presentation of Paul Schulenburg. I wanted to tell everybody I first saw his work many years ago in George Billis's gallery in New York City, and I've always been attracted to the atmosphere created in his varied subject matter, whether it was dock workers on location, interiors, or quiet New York City scenes. His work has often been compared to Edward Hopper and Wilhelm Hammershøi. Paul, an oil painter and pastelist, is an artist based in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. He's been classically trained at Boston University School of Fine Arts and is taught at the Chatham Creative Arts Center, Cape Cod, the Falmouth Art Center in Cape Cod, and Willow Retreat in Vermont. In the 80s and 90s, he created artwork for major corporations and publications such as Cigna, Fidelity, Time, and U.S. News and World Report. That was part of his prior life. Publications and interviews have included the Fine Art Connoisseur magazine and the American Art Collector. An award-winning artist, he has shown he's had solo shows at the Cape Cod Museum of Art and has been awarded a residency at the Fine Art Work Center in Provincetown, Massachusetts. He's a member of the Oil Painters of America, Portrait Society of America, American Impressionist Society, and the Salmagundi Club in New York City. He's currently represented by the Addison Art Gallery in Orleans, Massachusetts, and the George Billis Gallery in New York City. Paul has hosted portrait figure sessions in his studio in the last 20 years. Since COVID, he's now in a hybrid studio Zoom combination. His sessions are a little bit different from the New Orleans Drawing Group, from where he is presenting tonight. Paul's models pose in his studio with a live in-person situation and a hybrid with Zoom for people that Zoom in. And he has 5 different views, as opposed to the New Orleans Drawing Group, which has models posing in their own home, often with 2 views. Our sessions truly complement each other, and I'm so glad for our friendship. And now I'd like to present Paul.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Sandra, for the wonderful introduction. And I'm really pleased to be here and honored that you'd ask me to talk and show you my work. Instead of just showing newer work, I'm going to kind of go through my life, a portrait of an artist as a young man and a middle-aged man and becoming an old man. So we're just going to start pretty much at the beginning. Well, I'm going to start with some new work in case we don't get to the end, because I've got a lot of photos to go through. So I'll start off with some new things, and then we'll go back and see where everything kind of began. So let me see if I can share. So does everyone see this?
Yep.
All right, so I am an oil painter. I went to BU, Boston University, and living on Cape Cod, I became really interested in the fishermen and the activity down by the pier, because I do like working with figures. So it's kind of a way to do figurative work and do something with a local flavor. This is one of our workers down by the water. I also paint seascapes, landscapes, just about anything. I mean, I like to paint everything, but this is very close to my house, about half a mile to the beach. And at low tide, the water goes out and you can walk on these flats. And that's one of my favorite times to go down there, go for long walks on the flats. People seem to really enjoy the female fisher people, and I do too. And this was one of my favorites, a young woman who was pulling in nets at the end of the season. And yeah, 2007, I was on the cover of American Art Collector magazine, so that was really nice. And I also, as Sandra said, sometimes I'm compared to Edward Hopper. So some of my scenes, I like these kind of scenes of older architecture, people in front of a storefront like this, or maybe interiors. So this is in Provincetown, also on Cape Cod. This is my studio, and you can see toward the left my model stand, and I have some cameras up there that I take out and put it around the room, aim at the model. And you can see I have my easel, and I have another easel with a TV on it, TV monitor, and then like a roll around chest like a mechanic will use. So I thought I'd put this in just as a little pointer, but studio point advice that this one works really well. This is a TV, a Samsung television, and I put it on an easel, and I can raise it up and lower it down if I'm sitting. Like right now, it's at a sitting position. It's really easy to put up and down. I can put my computer on this roll around mechanics thingy, and then I can paint with my easel there. On the back of this easel, underneath the TV, I have this power strip, so I can plug in the TV and just roll it around and plug in my computer. So it's kind of like that. And this TV, you'll see that I can turn it sideways too, and then rotate the image on my computer, and then I can work on a vertical painting, which is really handy. So, I know a lot of people are working on tablets or computer screens, and this is just so much better. This is probably, 42-inch screen or something. And you can see my computer is on this stand that you can get, maybe at Staples. I don't know. I think we got this on Amazon or something, but I use this all the time to hold up my computer to see better and work easy to work with that. This is my grandfather. On the bottom it says July 1962. So my grandfather was a painter, my mother's father. So because he was an oil painter, my mother always kind of encouraged me to, follow in his footsteps, unlike most parents, which would tell you to get, be practical and get a real job. So he was a pretty accomplished painter. This is me standing in front of his car, and looks kind of, I dress pretty much the same, I think. Haven't changed too much. This is one of my grandfather's paintings. He did a lot of paintings of upstate New York and Vermont, and they would drive around and look at farms. This one is, on the back it says, to Paul Mark on his 6th birthday. So he gave me that on my 6th birthday. Our house is full of oil paintings done by him. No prints or pictures that were purchased. It was all landscapes and paintings that he had done. So this is my grandfather's kitchen, and reading comic books. I was really into comic book art, so I knew he did oil paintings, but I was probably more enamored with looking at comics. And so this is a friend of mine. Also, we used to draw comics together, and you can see he's got a Peanuts sweatshirt on. And he wound up going to RISD, became an artist. He became an art director and a graphic designer. And he gave me my first commercial art job. Since I studied to be a painter, I can't really find a job doing that after college. So he taught me how to do some commercial artwork things. And then he actually designed my book. 5 years ago, we put out a book of work, 200-page book dedicated to my past 20 years of painting. And yeah, he put it together for me. So good to hold on to old friends. And here we are reading our comic books. And when I was 12 years old, I took a talent test. And you can see here, it says I was age 7. And how long have you been interested in art? About as long as I can remember. And we study art in school, yes, 2.5 hours a week, half the year. So I wasn't getting a whole lot of study in. And they wound up sending a salesman to our house, trying to talk us into an expensive correspondence course, and my parents sent them away. And I figured at that point, my art career was over. I was shattered. This is from high school, a self-portrait. and maybe at acrylics, I don't think I worked in oils back then. And then this was a few years later at BU after a little bit of training. This was done with washes, so kind of an old style of glazing and scumbling. And then this was like a paintings techniques course. This is a different style, more in, using like a palette knife and just big shapes without any detail. And then this one, I was trying to be sort of Rembrandtish, I guess, with really thick paint on the side of my face and just kind of washed in these dark areas. And this was just a self-portrait I had done late at BU, maybe 78, 79. And it was in my mother's attic for like 30 years. I think rolled up, and when I unfurled it, it was all cracked and needed some repair. And I put it into a show on the Cape here, and it was out in Provincetown at an arts organization, and someone bought it, and they took it out to San Francisco and put it in a really fancy house. So this was a photo taken from Instagram with this dog in the front, but you can see my self-portrait. Who knew I was doing a self-portrait back in college days, and that someday it would have a place of honor like that. So this is, I think, graduation, actually, when a college graduation. That's my friend Dave, who was on the right, the cartoon guy, and then me with a tie, looking goofy with my mustache, and my wife at the time, Joan, and my brother and sister. And then after graduation, my first job was pumping gas. I had an art degree, so what am I going to do? I wasn't sure. I thought I'd be going to graduate school or get a teaching degree. I had to figure out what to do. So, but I was just pumping gas in that summer. And at some point, we went to Connecticut and went to an art show, and I tried displaying some paintings, and I thought, if I sell one or two paintings, this will be a sign. This will be a sign. This is what I need to do. And I didn't sell a darn thing. So I thought maybe that's a sign I'm going down the wrong path. It's mostly, just little still lifes, a couple landscapes, some fruit and that kind of thing. Didn't work out. But then I got a job in Boston at an animation studio. So painting the back of these animals, animation cells. Someone else would do the inking and I would put in the colors. So this was called Animal Olympics, and yes, with Billy Crystal, Gilda Radner, and Harry Shearer did the voices, which makes it sound kind of glamorous, but it was actually, it was just kind of like factory work. But I felt like I was doing something sort of creative. So then they moved to California, and I thought, am I going to move to California, or am I going to go to graduate school? I need to figure out what to do. So in the meantime, I got a job as a waterbed delivery man. This is just some photo I found on the internet, just to show a guy working on waterbeds. But this is kind of what I did. I had to assemble and fill up waterbeds. And then I became a waterbed salesman. And then I worked for Montgomery Ward's as a furniture salesman. And during that time, I wasn't doing much artwork, just trying to figure out what to do next, graduate school, teaching degree, animation. And then my wife got pregnant, and then she came down with leukemia at the same time. So she was getting treatment, like chemo, while she was pregnant, and at Mass General. And then we had our child in May, and then she had a bone marrow transplant in New York City in the summertime, and then she passed away in November. So then I was a guy with an art degree, and I had a child to take care of, and I was 24 years old. So yeah, how do what do you do next? So anyway, this is Leah in the middle and me and her cousin, just to show you that, we continued on our way. This is the Big Apple Circus. But while she was very small, Dave, my friend, showed me how to do paste up. And I started doing that for him. And then I got a job in Boston doing paste up with guys I went to college with at an advertising agency. This is another stock photo I found somewhere. So that's not me, but that's kind of what I was doing, putting ads together. And that's me in an ad. So I would have to put the type down, put the photos down, and do the mechanical work. And sometimes they would say, we need someone to be in this ad, so they would take my picture. This is cover of a magazine, pretending I'm working on a computer. But I would do this kind of stuff too, like ad design. And they would intend to like eventually hire an illustrator. They'd say, if you do a really good job for the layout drawing, maybe you can do the illustration. So I got kind of excited, but then they would always hire a real illustrator. And I thought, what am I doing? I'm doing this for like $15, $20 an hour, and I could be, they're paying this guy, a few $1,000s. So maybe I should be doing something different, So yeah, this is before I became a quote unquote real illustrator, but for the same company, they would have me do, I did these cartoons for them. And this was there's a chemical ad, but how many words can you make out of nitroparaffins by rearranging the letters? So it was norapherpaints. And I just had to come up with something to show that funky word. And then fast fin rhino wrap, which sounds like rhino wrap. Okay, somebody wrapping a rhino. Profanitis. So that was kind of fun. And going back to my cartoony days, I had a lot of experience drawing cartoons as a kid, and so I got to use that a little bit. But in the meantime, I would go to the Art Institute of Boston. I think during the week they would have an evening session where you could draw models. And so this is a pastel I did on, they called it bogus paper. I don't know if they still call it that. It was Utrecht, this gray recycled paper that was really pretty crappy, I guess. And maybe it's not archival at all, but I just love the color, just kind of this gray color. And I remember doing this, and there was some young woman next to me I was trying to impress, so I was concentrating really hard. But I always like this profile. And things like that, quick studies. I used Canson paper. I used a lot of brown. This one's a blue, obviously. Quick sketch. So these were, I think, all from back in that time, these pastel sketches. One thing about working in the round, from a real model, is you get these interesting, everyone has a different viewpoint. So this was kind of a challenging perspective, but I thought it was pretty interesting. Another quick sketch. Simple colors. Sometimes I do this in oil paints now. If we have short poses, I'll just get out two or three colors in oil paints and try to do this similar kind of thing. Pastel or oil, just kind of handle it the same way. Figures, and then real quick studies, probably a minute or something like that. So I was practicing with pastels, and then I met some people who were illustrators professionally, and I found out how to start promoting. What people would do is like buy a mailing list and print postcards and send them to art directors. So I did this pastel. This is I forget her name, Clara Bow, I think. It was a photo from like mid-1920s or even before, I don't know, silent movie actress. So I added colors and kind of jazzed it up, and sent it out just to art directors all over, all over Boston or maybe beyond, looking for work. And it worked. So I got a job with Musician Magazine, and they hired me to do a portrait of Jackson Browne. So that was pretty cool. But I didn't have any money. I invested it all in a postcard, and this paid for the postcard and maybe a little bit more. So then I had to reinvest and get this ball rolling of, getting something going. Being an illustrator, after I stopped working at the ad agency, I was able to just stay home all day with I'd work at home. I'd walk my daughter to school in Brookline, just outside of Boston. Then I'd work all day. I had my fax machine and talk to clients on the phone, and then I'd pick her up at school and then come back. And so I was able to, work at home, which was really helpful. There's a close-up. And then nearby, there's a magazine called East West Journal, and they would call me up, and they would just say, we need something that shows food, vegetarian food, make it look good, make it look appetizing, and it has to do with this guy, this famous yogi. And so I had to look at the positions that he would get into, and how can I design this so it looks like, food and a meal and whatever. So this is a funny design I came up with for a magazine spot illustration. This is another promotional postcard in pastel. So this is the Boston skyline. and which has probably changed quite a bit. So, because this was probably the mid to late 80s, stylization of clouds and sky, and I liked the sketchy quality, leaving some texture and not smoothing it out too much. So here's a job I got, probably based on, might have been from that postcard, some kind of brochure, annual report or something. I think it was loosely based on Rockwell's view of Stockbridge, Mass. There's where you could just kind of see a straight on view of a main street. So they probably asked me to do a small town, but show farms and rural areas and show a variety of things. So I had to make up what a small town might look like. And it wraps around the back this way. And it was kind of fun putting a little dog in there and a postman in the back. And so it's entirely, made up. And then this, I think the same organization hired me to do another brochure. This is the Chicago skyline. And they provided me with some kind of photo or more than one photo to work with. I just had to illustrate this for this conference they were having. And then I also did these pastel portraits. One was Gail Sayers on the left, famous football player back in the day. And then Marilyn Voss Savant, writer and genius, it says here. So IQ of 230. She used to have an article every week in the Parade magazine. And then if you get the newspaper, I don't know if she still does that, but that did that for years. And she contacted me and wanted to buy this drawing of her, or pastel piece. And I said, okay, as long as she takes a photo and stands next to it once she gets the drawing, and but she never did, so I'm still waiting. There's a close-up, Gail Sayers and Marilyn. I think I still do this. I still work on this brown background, and then sometimes highlight with a little blue and teal kind of colors. And so this is a different kind of illustration, and this kind of got the ball rolling for me in a big way. This is a pastel, but it's more concept oriented and just trying to show mass communication. Before cell phones, I guess people were tethered, but this is to show like networking, just in a simple graphic way. And that's the way I did illustration. It was all about sending a message to people. This is for Digital Equipment Corporation, about investments, I guess, growing investments, that kind of thing. I got kind of known for doing this, not really like a realism illustration. It was more like this concept-oriented sort of surrealism kind of thing that would convey a message. And people, art directors would contact me and say, this is what we want to say. Well, you need to talk about money growing over time. And then it was my job to come up with a way of showing that in a way that looks interesting. And this is Schulenburg, my wife of the last 33 years, who came along when Leah was about 11, and so saved my life. She's it's been, it was really, things really, got rolling after we met, and it's been, things have been good. So there we are with Leah in the middle, me when I still had dark hair. And there we are in Siena, Italy, more recently. So that's my hair is turning gray. And then that's Lee grown up, and she has a child now, and so I'm a grandfather. That's his second birthday, but he's 17 now, so this is a while back. Okay, so back to the early days, to when Leah was still little. There's a portrait of, maybe it's me going through the city with my portfolio, looking sort of despondent, like looking for work. But yeah, that's a pastel piece, stylized city kind of scape. So this one, they had this new thing called the internet, or World Wide Web, and they contacted me and said, this company would say, we need to show that we can contact and communicate all around the world at any time of the day or night, and everything's connected. So this is the way I came up with showing that, this net going all over the globe, and the sun on the left and moon on the right. So these kind of things were fun in that it was like solving a puzzle. It wasn't really like fine art, but I still got to draw, and it was difficult coming up with these ideas. This was about urban renewal. Just how do you show people taking an old neighborhood and fixing it up? So I turned the old neighborhood into like a mural, and the people are repainting it and putting it back together. This was a promotional piece I did just because I would send out things to art directors, and like at Christmas time, here's a Christmas card to remind you I do illustration work. So we've got, the billboard up above with, a couple on their sunny vacation, and then there's a family down below shopping for Christmas trees, and the dad on the right wants the little tree, and the kid, of course, wants the bigger tree. And the salesman, of course, is like holding up the bigger tree because that's what he wants him to buy. So this is a magazine article, also, and done in pastel, about being a single parent, something I could relate to. It usually, of course, is more common with women, but the little girl is based on my daughter when she was a child, and I was never a smoker, but I guess I just used this design. I don't remember if I had someone pose for this. This was a long time ago, but just to show, someone working through their issues. Another pastel piece showing, weight training, getting stylized, just trying to get people's attention and make it look kind of flashy with colors, blues and the cools and the warm colors. Okay, I think I took a picture of this for women should never keep this type of abuse secret. She should tell someone, a friend, a family member. So how do you show abuse? A woman dealing with abuse, that's the kind of thing an illustrator has to come up with sometimes. They don't tell you what to do, just say like, here, come up with something. So that was part of actually kind of the fun with the challenge. So I came up with this, a woman kind of tried to imply sort of like a purity, I guess, on the right, dressed in white, holding a white rose, looking at herself in the mirror. And the mirror is kind of fractured, different colors, different shapes, holding this red rose, kind of showing, I guess, the passion or the pain. Just kind of venturing into it's just more like an abstract kind of pattern. I don't do much abstract work, but I guess this is closest I come to it. I came up with this, which was, it's kind of this, not really a maze, it's like a series of boxes, but it also looks like almost like a rose unfolding. And so there's these harsh blues and reds, these colors as it's unfolding, and this woman is trapped inside, or maybe it's unfolding, maybe she can see a way out. And I don't know, she's black and white, and the colors are surrounding her. I thought it made an interesting sort of concept. And then I don't know if someone saw that or something, but I did this kind of revisited that with this some kind of hospital magazine. This is about depression. So they're not all depressing illustrations. This one was about family finance. Mom, where do I sleep? So here's a family on vacation, enjoying themselves. Yes, maybe saving a few bucks or whatever, but they're all in one bed. So this was for the Boston Globe, and like a charcoal drawing, and late 80s, 90 maybe, and similar to what's going on nowadays, people talking about immigration, people coming from Mexico, coming across the southern border. So how do you show that? I did that as showing it as a cliff, that people are trying to scale this high cliff, and once they get across that, then they still have to go over a wall, and they have to get past this barbed wire. And then, then the ultimate goal is the jobs in the distance. So glad to be living in the USA. U.S. News and World Report. I did this. Also, they were talking about the state of the country and the state of each state. And so how do you show all these states that are having problems? I showed that with little three-dimensional like cutouts, as like a kind of child's puzzle would be. And there's Texas and Florida, and you can make out different kinds of different states in there. And they're kind of cracked and crumbling and have their problems. So then the article went on and they talked about the different states. This is Tennessee, I guess. And so instead of the solid block, this is maybe where the block came out of. You can see what's going on in Tennessee. Things are partly cloudy, kind of sunny, not too bad. This Missouri, looking inside, and it's looking a little dangerous out there. And then New York at the time, I guess, wasn't doing very well, or I don't know. That's it seems like there's these problems. We're always having problems. It's an ongoing thing. So back to the figure. I think the gallery put this together. I like this little quote at the bottom by Charles Hawthorne, who's a Cape Cod, a Provincetown artist. A sketch has charm because of its truth, not because it is unfinished. So this I think was an oil, but it was actually, it's very similar to the way I handled my pastels. Just a couple colors and put down very kind of deliberately. Now we're back to a newer pastel. So this is Joanna, done for the New Orleans drawing group not too long ago. So this is the first pastel I had done in, I don't know, in quite a few years actually, because I've mostly been doing oil painting. But yeah, one of my favorite models, maybe my favorite model. This was Freddie, and I put this in just because I didn't realize that we were doing multiple poses that night. So I did this in about 15 minutes, and then we took a break, and then he came back and it was in a different pose. So it's as far as I got with this one. This was John, I think his name is, for Christmas. I don't remember. This was a wonderful model. That was a fun one. And yeah, this was back to oil painting. This one I wanted to do the whole scene and capture a lot of these details. Yeah, this is another oil painting profile. This was I like this piece. I like the fact that I didn't overwork it. That just the colors are just like in the skin tones, a little bit in the background. I think this was for group portrait model Zoom. Just a 2-3 weeks ago, I think. This one is a group in Draw Brighton, I think Brighton, England. So the model was in South America and the group was in England. And I thought they were doing a 2-hour pose, but they had 2 hours, but they did 2 45-minute poses. So this was 45 minutes. I was kind of surprised I got that much done in 45 minutes, but it was pretty fun with the green lips and the green, whatever, foliage on her head. And here's Joanna. And she's modeled for me, I guess last time we talked with her, she said it was 2011, the first time. So this was a recent painting of her. This, I think, may have been the first time I ever painted her, in 2011. She came to my studio. And so I put in about 10 pieces just to show, like, this was with you guys, New Orleans group. And this was at my studio. And she sent away for this outfit, I think Amazon or something. It was Edwardian outfit. Particularly like the way the light was coming through her earring. And this was just, it's still out in Iowa at a show of figurative work that has to do with fashion. So, yeah. And this was at Christmas or New Year's, sometime around then. So she's dressed up for the holidays with holding a champagne flute. And I think this may have been one of the early Zoom sessions we did with Joanna, because when COVID started, my group, we always met in my studio. So we started meeting on Zoom just to chat and have a drink because we missed each other. And then we came, it occurred to me, maybe we could get Joanna to pose for us down in South Carolina. And I didn't realize that other people were going to pick up that, have the same idea. But I think this was for our group on Zoom, one of the early ones. This was in the studio, and I had a blue light on one side and a warm light on the other. This was actually done from a photo. I did this for a Zoom demo during COVID. So I pulled up the photo and just did this while explaining my painting technique. And this was done the same, this was from that day, the actual painting I did with the blue light on the other side of her and the warm light from more like on this side on the left. And there's some sheer fabric. And it's funny, well, a lot of times people want to see the model's face, you know, I like painting from the back a lot of the times because I like the mystery, you know, seeing the back of the head and who that might be. Now this is out in Provincetown. This is a friend of mine who at an art club that was the art club that was started in 1916 by Charles Hawthorne and some early painters in Provincetown. And so the club is still there. It's still a beat up old building. And this man is now 80 years old. He was in 2001, A Space Odyssey. He was the ape that threw the bone in the air. And he actually choreographed that whole scene with the apes in the beginning. And he also was the personal assistant to John Lennon and Yoko Ono in New York City. So a really interesting guy. This one was, I met this man on election day. We did a different painting of him, but he talked about being an American by choice. He came from the Dominican Republic like 35 years ago, became an American citizen only like 6 years ago, I think, but he is 83 years old now, and he's still working full time, taking care of people with Down syndrome and severe autism. So I did this later on. I went back and did a whole photo shoot with him so I could find something to work and just do a formal portrait. And this is, I think, 40 by 40 inches. He's actually pretty life size on the painting. And this was a large painting I did more recently too, just showing a woman on a fishing boat. I wanted to do it up large. Might be too big. It doesn't fit in my car. It's like 48 by 48, but I just like the scene, and I like working that size. There's a close up of the young woman, Stephanie. She has come and sat for us in our group here too. So speaking of which, this is inside the studio, and this photo is of Alfre Woodard, who is a Oscar-nominated actor. Usually we have local people, friends, people will sit for us. But at some point I got kind of nervy and started asking local musicians, people of note, would you come? And figuring like they'll just, worst that could happen is they might say no. And Alfre Woodard, I heard, was in a nearby town, like 10 miles away, staying with friends. And long story short, I contacted them, and she just said, that's a really wacky thing to do. Yeah, okay, I'll come over. And she went to BU just before I did, and she studied acting. And so we had that in common. I don't know if that really impressed her or not, but she came and sat for us, and she told some stories. It was really lovely. And this is not the painting I did then. I did a painting that was okay, but I took photos of her on that occasion, and I wanted to do something more finished. So this is a painting I spent all day. The next day or 2 days later, I did morning and afternoon. This is one of the 3-hour sessions, from here in our Zoom group. He was a poet who was traveling through the Cape, and he came and recited some poetry and sat still for us. It was a really interesting look. This is a young woman I met and asked her if she would come sit for us, and she said okay. And she was originally from Kenya, and she's a nurse in Boston. Sometimes we do have nude figure models. This was, I think he does construction. He might do fishing as well. But yeah, I like his rugged character. This is Bob Stack. He lives in a nearby town of Chatham, and he's an illustrator I've known for a long time, since when I was an illustrator. But he's, super successful. He has like 75 children's books. And he's done, I think, over 20 New Yorker magazine covers. He did their best-selling New Yorker cover ever when Obama became president. So yeah, Bob Stack, Staake. Really super smart guy, really talented, really fun work. Abriana is a daughter of a friend of ours. So she came and sat for us a couple times, and recently moved to LA. And I think she might be sitting for you guys remotely on Zoom one of these days. Lovely model, really great face. And then her mother just sent this to my wife because Aubriana moved to LA, so she wanted to know if Aubriana wanted to mail this sweater to her. So she took the painting and put it like this and sent it to Aubriana. Do you want this sweater? So it was kind of funny. So we also, sometimes I'll ask random people if they'll come. I happen to know this guy, Jerry Portnoy, who's a blues harpist, a harmonica player. And he used to play with Muddy Waters, and he traveled with Eric Clapton. So he came and played, and we painted, and he brought this other guy to play with him. And I hope the sound is good. I'm going to play just a little clip because I don't want to run out of time. Let's see. I'll start at the beginning. That's enough of that. These videos you can see on my website and on my Instagram, in case anyone's interested. The whole video. That's the painting I did. He sat still some of the time, and I think the guitar player kept playing the whole time. You guys still out there? I hope you haven't fallen asleep yet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes.
This is another I got nervy. Dermot Mulroney is a TV actor and movie actor, and his parents lived in a nearby town of Orleans, and I knew he was going to be in town, and so I sent his mother an email and said, if you get him to come sit for our group, I will give you the painting. And I thought, yeah, why not? And it turned out his mother likes to come to the gallery where I show my work, and I had met her. I didn't even realize I had met her before. So yeah, he came, and he's also a classically trained cellist. So he played for us and sat for us. Oh, and I'll play, let's see, I think right around here was pretty good. Once again, like I said, you can see videos like this on my website. And there we are, a little shameless self-promotion, me and Dermot. And there's the painting I did. I was afraid of running out of time, but I think we're doing pretty well. So in 2006, I think it was, I applied for this residency at the Fine Arts Work Center in Provincetown. And in order to get the residency, you had to come up with a proposal. And my proposal was, I wanted to meet some of the older people who lived out there who were artists. It used to be a fishing village that artists moved to because it was cheap and it was beautiful. It was a remote, end of the world kind of place. And so it was fishermen and artists and bohemians. And, now it's a very, very expensive vacation spot, people with second homes. And it's still a lot of art galleries. There's a lot of artists, but yeah, it's hard for artists to actually live there and move there. So Salvador Del Deo, he's 96 years old and he's still painting. So this is Sal 20 years ago in his studio. He's a really great guy. He's really he's a super, super nice guy. And this was Selena Treef, who has since passed away. This was a challenge. I wanted to paint her, pay tribute to her. She was a popular artist around here. But she was also kind of collapsing in on herself. She had a lot of health problems. And toward the end, she was just in a wheelchair, couldn't get up. So yeah, I had to try to show her, this strength of character, yet, her physical weakness. That was a challenge. This is Arthur Cohen, who's a Provincetown artist, and he had an apartment in New York City. And a couple of years after I painted this was in his studio in Provincetown, and it burned. Someone torched it, I think, or I don't know, it burned. So the only thing left was this round printing press made of iron that was, you can see behind his head. Otherwise, it was all gone. And this was Romanos Risk, who was kind of the inspiration for my project. I painted like 12, 13 artists. So I'm just showing you a handful. But Ray Risk was he was a really nice guy, had a great head of hair. He was really funny. And so I thought it'd be fun to paint him and then turn into painting a whole bunch of people. And this is Cynthia Packard in her studio. And I didn't intend to do all portraits, just people in their studios. So I thought this was kind of fun rather than a painting of her face, just the atmosphere inside her workspace. This is my wife, Far, and this was when we were in Maine, probably around 2004. So yeah, like Edward Hopper, I paint my wife a lot. So he painted his wife almost exclusively, and I have a lot of paintings where she is the model and the subject. So this was an abandoned quarry, granite quarry. This was also up in Maine, and there's a young woman like writing or sketching over one part of the rocks, and there's this great red building. And so when I put it together, I moved her closer to the building, and I called this Letter Home, because we were living in Maine at the time and I missed Cape Cod. And so I kind of envisioned maybe she was like writing to someone far away. That's when people actually used to write things, with a pen and a paper rather than just send a text. So yeah, this is more figurative work here on the Cape, fishermen. I do use a lot of photos when I go down to the fish pier. They're working, and I try to capture them doing what they do naturally. And I take hundreds and thousands of photos and only use a few, because a lot of them just aren't very good and usable. But sometimes I'll find something I can use, and then I can make some adjustments and change, colors, or eliminate one person or add somebody. And so they just shovel the ice onto the fish. This one I called a tenuous line, because the fisherman's line of work is pretty, it's sketchy. We're running out of fish actually in Cape Cod. There used to be, cod, and there's lots of fish out there, and it just aren't as many as there used to be. And I thought I kind of relate that, being an artist is also a tenuous line. It's not easy. So this is my wife in the Packard Gallery in Provincetown. And this is my painting of my wife, who at that time was a painter, and she admired Cynthia Packard's paintings, and she's looking at Cynthia's paintings. And in the window, you can see Cynthia's mother's paintings reflected in the window. So there's this kind of multi-layer thing. That was kind of fun. This was a big painting of, I think, 48 by 48. So I did some paintings in New York City. Sandra mentioned show with George Billis Gallery down there. So I would go down and paint in Soho and the Village and that kind of thing. There's a little bookstore in the Village. And after doing this, after doing this, I realized that is from a Hopper painting. It was Silber's Pharmacy at the time, the famous painting that said X-Lax in the window. It's the same building and the same angle, but it's just funny that, it grabbed me. This was in Brooklyn, also a Hopper-esque kind of view. I'm hoping someday people say it's a Schulenburg-esque kind of view, but it was morning. I was having coffee across the street, and went over, look at the light, and said, oh my gosh, this is cool. These white curtains and this guy with the white shirt and in there working. And I wasn't sure, people want a pretty painting? Anyone gonna want to buy this painting? But yeah, no, it's gone. Someone bought it, and I think this is inside the same building here. And the people who bought this painting just commissioned me to do another painting of a street scene in Provincetown. But this was fun. I liked the light coming through the window, creating patterns on the walls, and once again, a figure. Another city scene. Sometimes in the city, you get these days that are kind of misty or drizzly, and it's kind of more interesting. I wasn't sure about putting this orange barrel on the right, but at the time, maybe I thought it balanced out with the like yellow cab on the left. I don't know. Again, another like a rainy day, but I like the atmosphere. It's kind of cool. I mean, sunny days are nice too, but something about it, like just a rainy day like that is fun to try to capture. And this is inside a New York City apartment where I stay when I'm down there. I think it was a snowy time, maybe raining. So I was inside, and I just liked the very simple composition of this doorway with a cool light in the doorway, in the far away doorway, and then this warm light in this near room. And there's a small painting, and I've actually painted this several times because I tried it with putting paintings on the walls. I tried it with different kinds of flowers, and I've done it several times, and it's sold every time. So something about the very simplicity, I guess. And I don't know, intriguing colors, maybe, I don't know. And this is, yeah, street scene in Provincetown, similar to things I might see in New York City in the Village. Cafe Heaven, I've done a lot of paintings inside and outside of Cafe Heaven. This young woman, I call this one Sounds of a Summer Evening, because when you look at a painting, it's quite silent, right? But if you're out there painting, or if you're out there observing, you might hear people inside the restaurant, you'll hear people on the streets, that kind of thing. And this is from when we were out in Provincetown at the Fine Arts Work Center when I was doing my residency. I also painted these towels, and I thought there's a white door and two white towels, and the brass doorknob and the towel hanger. But somehow I just thought like, oh, this is my wife on the left and me on the right. And I just thought it just somehow captures our personalities in a way. So I thought, kind of a strange thing to paint, but I'll do that up. And it's pretty big, like 30 inches by 24 inches maybe. And but yeah, it sold right away. And then the gallery told me they could have sold it a few times. So yeah, you never know what people are going to be attracted to. Yeah, it was kind of fun. Oh, you know what? That's it. I'm done. Did I lose you guys?
No,
Nope, we're
No,
here.
no, really enjoyed
Grabbed
that.
attention.
That was great.
Excellent.
Fabulous, Paul.
Fantastic.
Oh,
How
good.
long did it take to do
Bravo.
some of those paintings, those big ones? How long does that take?
The big paintings?
Yeah.
Sometimes it can go pretty quickly. It's hard to say. I mean, once you know what you want to paint, I'll usually will spend the first day just maybe making a grid and getting a drawing down. And it might just be kind of a line drawing, and then I'll go in maybe the next day with tones and put in washes of areas of dark and tone it down a lot. And it'll get darker and darker, and then I'll wipe away some highlights. And I like it to be kind of medium and kind of going towards the dark. So then when I go into my oil paints, I can put in the bright colors, and they'll pop, and they'll be bright against those dark areas.
Thanks.
Paul, did you always have a great imagination in the illustrations? They were like brilliant.
Oh,
to-
thanks.
That's a real incredible knack to be able to put together what is someone requests of you on a piece of paper.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of people think of illustration as that you're just doing what people are telling you to do, but it's not necessarily. I mean, even if you're like NC Wyeth, doing Treasure Island. I mean, it's his job to go, find the setting or make up the setting and get the people with costumes and set it all up. But with what I would do, yeah, they come up with these concepts of like, show us that, we want to show our computers are faster than someone else's computers. Like, all right, or our investments will grow better than someone else's. And how do you show that visually, right? So yeah, it was a challenge, and that was kind of part of the fun. It's like I said, it's like doing a puzzle. And yeah, it will give you a feeling of satisfaction when it came out good. When you can't come up with an idea, then it's very frustrating.
Wow.
Paul, do you feel like your time as an illustrator has actually given you the speed to do what you do now? Because
Uh,
that's really the only way a fine artist gets a raise.
yeah, well, we were talking about this before the session about your experiences all kind of come together and help you in the long run. So, I was shy and withdrawn as a kid, had a hard time talking with people, and so that's why I would draw pictures so I wouldn't have to talk. But then I had to get a job as a waiter, and I had to talk to people. And then I got a job as a salesman, so I had to talk to people. So when I was doing illustration, I had to like promote myself. I had to go meet with them. I had to have deadlines. I had to be organized. And so what I hear from the galleries, a lot of artists maybe aren't that organized. And they'll say, well, it's because I'm an artist. It's like, well, you're an artist, but it's a business. Um, so, when you're dealing with a gallery, they have, I don't like to think I still have deadlines, but, they want to place an ad. We have a show coming up, so, yeah, I think I try, yeah, I think I've always been kind of a fast painter. Hopefully it turned out okay. Um, but, yeah, I think working with illustration, I think was kind of an interesting, different way of looking at things, and also just doing the business end of it. I think it was helpful.
I love the illustrations too. They're fabulous. Do you think that if you were coming up now, you would have that same experience? I mean, is it all done on a tablet now?
A lot of people do their illustrations on, yeah, computers and tablets. They were starting to do that when I was doing illustration, and they would people would contact me and say, I like the look of a real drawing, like a real pastel, or they liked that it looked like had texture. Even back then, because yeah, they didn't want that slick looking computer look. So yeah, I don't know if I would go that route. When I first started doing paste up and commercial art, and my friend took me to an art supply store, and I got an illustration annual. There was an illustration annual book. I don't know if they still do that, but I picked it up, and there were all these great paintings in there. And it was late 70s, 1981, 1982. And in my experience, galleries were showing abstract work, squiggles or lines or whatever, and just not what I was doing or was interested in. And I picked up this book, and it was more like N.C. Wyeth stuff. I mean, all kinds of illustration, but a lot of those guys were really talented painters. So that's what first got me interested in doing illustration. Although my illustration wasn't N.C. Wyeth style, it was more concept oriented. So, and illustration was also frustrating because it's a temporary medium. So I would do something like the things you saw, and people would say, oh, this is cool, and then eventually it gets thrown away, so it was all very temporary. I still have a lot of that stuff because I don't throw things away. It drives my wife crazy. But I liked the idea of doing painting again because people appreciate it and they buy it and they want to save it and they want to hand it down to their children. I have boxes of illustrations, and my grandson will probably just throw it all away. But I've got it for now.
Well, I can see the past part of your illustration life and attention to detail just in our communication and even getting ready for tonight. Tremendous attention to detail that most other presenters haven't had. So yeah, that it was pretty amazing.
Well, yeah, like I said, I have a hard time talking with people, so I thought I better be prepared so I can fill up some time. But just coincidentally, I was contacted a few months ago by somebody up in Plymouth, Mass. It's about an hour away, and it's like a housing development kind of thing. And they've got like a community center, and they have I invite arts related people to come in and talk. So several months ago, he said, will you come and talk about your work, your life as an artist, blah, blah, blah. And I said, okay. So I started putting this together for them. And then you mentioned it. So I thought, well, this is good practice because I'll have to go up to Plymouth and actually do it in person. Yeah.
So now you're just looking at a screen, and maybe that's easier than doing it in person. But this has been great. And you really showed your humanity in just talking about the different stages and part of your personal life, which made you who you are today, and those great and unfortunate experiences.
Well, yeah, I was unsure about talking about that, but then I thought it's kind of made me who I am. And in some ways, I think it made me work harder, possibly. I mean, when I was starting out, I couldn't go to graduate school. I couldn't get a degree in teaching. At least I felt like I couldn't go back to school. I had to start working. And
We're getting 10 minutes here.
so I didn't have a lot of choices.
Well, it's it looks like just a wonderful, positive road. And
Yeah,
I quite feel as comfortable with the guy. I'm gonna be negative. Right,
excuse me, I think some people have their
Maybe I do too, you know.
audio on, and thank you.
Yeah.
So as we are approaching our time, any other questions for Paul?
Paul, could you mention about your workshops? What, or are you doing any workshops?
Yeah, I don't have anything scheduled. I usually teach at the Chatham Creative Arts Center, so that's about a half an hour from my house here on the Cape. And I've taught 2 or 3 times in Falmouth. It's another end of the Cape. And then I taught a workshop up at this place called Willow Retreat Vermont. They have a thing going with Grand Central Academy. I mean, they're doing a lot of really tight, atelier kind of stuff. But we just happened to make a reservation there when they were just starting as an inn. And so maybe it's serendipity, we just happened to be there. So they wanted me to come back, but it's kind of far away, and I like teaching when I do it, but I don't do it very much because it just takes me away from actually working, doing paintings. So
Paul, I wanted to add, I'm so happy that I was here for this presentation, and I'd like to say that I knew who you were. The reason that I came on tonight, because I did know who you were from the Brighton group about, I don't know, a month or so ago.
Yeah.
We all did our 45-minute, and then it was show if you want, and I was awestruck by the 45-minute oil portrait that you did, and I looked you up right away. Wow. I'm like, who is this guy? And I really enjoyed your website and got to know about you. And so thank you so much. And Sandra, for putting this together. I loved your presentation, and, hearing your whole background. And I think we're of the same generation. I was in the commercial art school, and maybe Sandra might've been too. I know I'm from the Philadelphia area, and Sandra, I believe you are too. So that was really enjoyable. Listening to your whole illustration journey really took me back. So now I know who you are. You're on my map, on my radar. So
Great.
Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Well, I'm glad you appreciated that. I was wondering about bringing up the illustration thing, because sometimes people have an attitude about commercial work, but it's all, all ties together in a way, just different approaches.
It was very Mad Men-esque.
My advertising days.
Paul, you're getting a lot of compliments in the chat.
Oh, good. Well, I was really afraid I was going to go way over, because I had like 150 photos, and I thought, well, even if each one is like 30 seconds, I'm going to go, it's just going to go way over an hour. So I try to zip through pretty quickly.
Well, I just have a comment as well. So much of the work that you showed is, just people doing jobs, and around and I think it just felt like hearing your story and the different um phases you had, working in the gas station and these menial kinds of things, just regular sort of labor,
Right.
and all the hard work you've done along the way. You have this affinity
Hmm.
for people who are also just working for a living,
Hmm.
and that seems to come out in the paintings, and that might be partly why so many people connect to what you do. And it certainly fleshes it out for me as I listened to you talk and then, watched your presentation this evening. It was really lovely.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, well, I love painting people, as do all of you, I guess. That's why we all get together. So yeah, and doesn't necessarily have to be anyone. I mean, I wanted to show you some of the celebrity type people who are here, but everybody is special in their own way and has their own stories, right? And so, and when we get together, we do talk to our models, as Joanna can attest. But we asked the model, like, who are they? Where do they come from? Tell us about yourself. And and I think I heard a quote that John Singer Sargent said. He didn't just have a person sit. He would talk to them while they're sitting because he wants to know who they are and how they move, and maybe their face isn't quite as static, if they're chatting.
And Joanna is here.
She is here.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Joanna.
Thank you for
Hi,
coming,
everybody.
Joanna.
Hey, Joanna.
Thank you so much for the invite.
Glad you could make it.
I wouldn't miss it.
More about me than you really wanted to know.
Not true.
Any other questions?
Maybe could you kind of quickly touch on your process when you sit down to do an oil painting?
Yeah, like I have some time lapse. I have a bunch of them on my website and on YouTube, but I always start with a white canvas, and I'll do a wash. I call it a wash, but not too wet. I'll put a tone down anyway. Sometimes it'll be a dry tone, but just like a medium gray. Could be brown, could be green-ish, but mostly just got a medium tone. And then I'll draw with my brush, like I would, maybe with a pastel or a charcoal, do the drawing and add more tone, getting darker and darker. Then I wipe away with a towel. I wipe away the highlights, not all the way back to white, but just make things a little lighter. I don't know if I have anything around here I could show you, but just make a tonal, like, sepia study. So I'll do that during the first 20 minutes or first half hour, try to get the drawing pretty much established, and then I'll go to color after that. So you can see that in the time-lapse things very quickly.
That's great. Make sure I check those out.
Yeah, they're only like 30 seconds long, so you really gotta, for a 3-hour painting, you really have to pay attention.
Yeah. It's also been cool that a lot of your work, we are a variety of artists, from pastelists, oil painters, watercolorists, that you did use a lot of pastel in your early days and in your illustrations, which I'm sure illustrators then did not use oils. But just the whole gamut of everything you've done is pretty amazing.
And I always loved pastels, and when I was doing the illustration work, I actually moved over to oil pastel because back then the artwork had to be shipped to the client. So I could be working on something till 4 o'clock or something, and then it had to be packaged up and drive across town to the FedEx or the FedEx box or wherever, and send it. And if it was a chalk pastel, you don't really know, even just on packaging, it might get smudged, something might happen. So I transitioned over to a lot of oil pastel, which I found kind of similar. And then I mixed in some like acrylic paint and oil pastel. But yeah, acrylics would dry right away because, you know, well, yeah, a lot of illustrators would say, I'm still blowing on it on the way
Okay,
to
tomorrow. Orange today.
Excuse me for anyone who's of,
Tatiana, mute yourself.
Oops.
there was a question, Paul. Did you pick up pastel as more of an illustration tool than a fine art medium?
I think, no, I love pastels. I always, you know, I was always attracted to like Degas pastels. And I think when I was transitioning around the year 2000, I didn't start doing a lot of oil painting again until about 2000 or late 1998, 1999. I just for fun, I put a couple paintings into a gallery and they started selling. So I gave up my illustration career. But remember talking to another painter, he said that he decided he was just going to concentrate on one medium and just try to be really good at it. And I thought, well, oil is probably going to be it for me, and I'm just going to really concentrate on the oils. I also got a little frustrated with pastels, just they're so, you know, fragile, harder to frame. And the gallery I work with, they have a little bit of pastel work, but she kind of encourages us to do paintings. Maybe feels that are, yeah, doesn't want things, I don't know. Yeah, I loved working in pastel, but I just decided I had to concentrate on something. So that's what I chose, the oil paint. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I think she said, question answered, thank you.
I know, sometimes I get jealous because see the beautiful pastels and such bright colors, and such a variety that, you know, you can pick up a color and just, it's right there without having to, like, you know, mix. You can mix the pastels together on the paper, but yeah, they are fun to work with.
Yeah, I admire the people that do several different mediums, and you learn from one medium and sometimes you can apply it to another. So
Yeah. Yeah,
that's-
but like I said, sometimes when I'm working in the oils, I feel like I'm sometimes handling it like a pastel into the brush. So, you know, they're just similar things.
yeah. This has been great. So I want to thank you, unless there are any last minute questions. Okay, well, Paul, thank you, and thanks for being now at 10:15 on the East Coast.
Fine with me. Yes. Glad to be here. Glad you all made it through and haven't fallen asleep yet.
No, not on Central Time.
Oh,
So
good.
thank you so much, Paul, and have a really good end of the evening. And everybody, thank you so much for supporting Paul and the New Orleans Drawing Group.
Hey, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra.
Oh, thanks so much.